What is up, guys? This is Ben with Blade HQ. Today we're out with James from Practical Preparedness. He's going to show us some awesome stuff. Thanks for being with us, James.
Thanks for having me. This is a bad little knife. We're going to set up a scenario to where we're out motorcycling and our bike just broke down. You're out in the middle of nowhere. The first priority should be shelter. Most people would be like, that tiny little knife, you're going to use it to build a shelter. You know, one of the critical things is finding a good space to make your shelter. There's a natural, very low ceiling that's already established here. And the other great part about this shelter is it's got a natural fire reflector in the back here. I'm gonna use a baton, and you can beat the crap out of this little guy. I can put thumb forward onto the jimping of the blade. I can thumb press it. These are the Micarta scales, and they feel like a dream in your hands. So if I was going to create a shelter, I'd start with the base, and make sure that's, you know, like I said, anywhere from 4 to 8 inches is a good estimate. And I'm just going to clear this area out here, and all the dead wood that I'm going to pull off, I'm going to start stacking it up and making a really tight shelter. Now we need to start focusing on fire. You want to have it close enough, and the fire small enough that you get a lot of reflective heat back into that shelter. So getting some really dry, airy materials. When a plant grows and then it dies, the deadfall comes down to the base, and it's usually in a semi decomposed state, which is ideal for fire making. I'll just go ahead and be gathering some of this stuff together, and I'll just load it into one of my pockets of my jacket. If there is any moisture in there, your body heat will actually facilitate driving some of that moisture out. So when it comes time to start your fire, you're already light years away from, or ahead of the game. Toothpick to pencil size pieces of wood, that's going to be your kindling. This is critical. Also, when you're gathering fire materials, you're going to want to get about 4 times what you think you actually need. Even though you think this is a desert and the ground's totally dry, it's not. There's actually moisture in the ground. So I'm not sticking my kindling or my tinder on the ground. I'm going to stick it up on a rock, something that's going to keep it off the ground so it doesn't absorb moisture. Next task is gathering fuel. In a lot of environments, you're going to have, you're not going to be able to find the type of kindling that we were able to find here. And so a lot of times you'll have to split. Man, that just went right through it. Look at that. No flexing, nothing. Oh yeah. Okay, this thing's sick. Let's go ahead and do some splitting this way. Technique I use for this, I just pinch this between my fingers, lay the knife in the middle, right there. Holds everything perfect. I'm going to baton out to the back end of this, or the tip end of this. I'm not even hitting this very hard at all. Notice I didn't go all the way into the rock. If I've got something like this, and say I don't even have a baton, I'll use the palm of my hand right here on the back of this blade, and I can do some splitting that way too, which I do a lot. You know, I've tested and used just a crap load of knives. All the people that know me kind of call me a gear whore. So, you know, I end up testing a lot of stuff, and I thought, honestly, this was going to be too small of a knife. I didn't think I would actually put it into use. I didn't think it really quite fit the things that I do, but I'm sold. It's really impressed me. You know, first of all, there's a lot of flack about this sheath, and for good reason. I mean, I got to be honest. I love almost everything ESEE makes. You know, I've got a lot of their products, and form follows function. So whatever the purpose of the knife is, everything fits around it. This was the first knife they came out with. This sheath sucks. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. That being said, for some people it's going to be okay. Now, some people have also asked, how well does it fit with the Micarta scales or any of the scales inside the sheath? It actually makes the sheath fit better, to be honest with you. It fits better. It conforms around it a little better. But it's got, you'll notice it's a belt loop right here. It's got Velcro tab on the front. When I first pulled this out, it was a little unwieldy, but I've noticed now that I've been carrying it just in my pocket and stuff, it actually will conform around the whole knife. So good news is that as you use it more, you can see how it kind of molds around the knife. That makes me like it a little bit more, but I still don't love it. See how it shaves. It's getting some good shavings off this. So it's held its edge really good. This is 1095 steel. You'll see some guys on the internet that bag on 1095 because it's not stainless and yada yada yada. You know, when you do wilderness survival and you actually teach and instruct this stuff, sharpening a knife in the field becomes really important. And you know, I've had knives from specifically, you know, some of the Gerber steel has gotten too hard to actually sharpen in the field. 1095 is an awesome steel. And so what if you get a little rust on the blade every now and then? It comes right off with steel wool. I can even grab some juniper like this and get some water on there and actually scrub and take a lot of that rust off. So it's not an issue, you know, 1095 versus S30V or anything like that. It's not an issue. And then to sharpen this little guy, I always carry in my wallet a DMT card. But this is all I need in the field to be able to go ahead and put any type of edge back on a knife like that. Any type of sharpening style you're going to do, whether it's circular or traditional. And the funny thing is we beat the crap out of this blade today, and it doesn't need to be resharpened right now. Holy crap, that's sharp. See that take hair right off. Let's talk about food. Out here in this area, there's a lot of rock chucks, there's a lot of rabbits. But what we're going to do is use the Candiru to set up some triggers. Paiute deadfall is probably the easiest and most reliable trigger to make, so that's what we're going to do. We just need something that's going to be heavy enough to give us an example of what we're looking for here. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just going to prep the pieces of the trap. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure about how high I want this trap to be. Top portion of this trap is going to get a wedge. You can see this Candiru is just flying through this wood. This is awesome. Okay. Detail cuts really nicely. So what we're going to do now is let's just clean this up. Just going to do some vertical stripping of this bark off, so I can see what I'm working with here. This is the tricky part. So you have to remember, this piece is going to be, the rock is going to sit like this. I want the trap set to get kicked out from underneath the rock so that it doesn't get trapped under the rock and pin things up. That's why you got the shallow side here, longer side here. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark this. I'll do this on my leg. Here's where a knife with a great edge comes in really handy with making these trap sets, because you've got to do some detail cutting on your trigger stick here. Actually, this is the support stick. Comes up at an angle, and then preferably a straight 90 degree on this side. What's going to happen is that's going to sit right in here. The rock is going to be placed here. When that rock goes to get triggered and falled, it's going to push this out and kick the whole set. Next thing I need to do is on the trigger, on the tip end here, is go ahead and notch this entire edge length is workable. Like, I've been able to use every part of this edge without favoring one part of the next for whatever angle I'm getting. It's going to hold our paracord here. Okay, find that, bring this right down back here. The string needs to be about this long. It's going to wrap around to our trigger stick, so I'm going to go ahead and cut our paracord here. Just need a trigger stick. This is going to just be a simple length of stick, just like that long. The end of this is going to get tied around this stick. All right. Perfect. Now granted, if you were really setting this instead of just for a test, you would be using something heavy enough to crush the animal that you're looking to trap. You would also be setting this up in an area where you could channel the animal in. You don't just want to set a trap up just at any place. All right, if you're motorcycling around, you probably got a granola bar. You can go ahead and take a piece of that and either spear it through this stick. This is your trigger stick right here. Just spear it through that or rub it on it. Pretend that this is the animal. They come and start gnawing on this. This is a great way of securing food. I wouldn't have any qualms using this little knife to build a set of 25 or 50 traps. The thing was just super comfortable to use.